Yeah. Okay. We're good.
Hello, I am Brother Kelly Hughes, chaplain of the arts, broadcasting live to tape from the glorious Valiant Theatre in the heart of Winnipeg's greasy tenderloin. This is Kelly Hughes Live Slices here on YouTube, and also every Saturday, 1 p.m., UMFM 101.5. Thank you so much for stopping by. And thank you to my guest, Laurie Mustard, for stopping by. I appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
You're a little beat up. You got a cut on your head.
Oh,
You got a croaky voice.
I was working under the sink 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And I was working with dishes and all that stuff, and the dishwasher's ready. So I grabbed stuff and was moving. And then I stood up and I had the cupboard door open. I went right into the point of the cupboard door. And I went, oh! So then for the next 20 minutes, I got a paper towel on my head and I'm working just to, you know.
I do that all the time with our microwave because it's up on top of our fridge.
Oh.
So I always leave the door open because we feed our cats some raw food and it comes frozen. And if I don't remember to leave it out, I have to put it in the microwave. So then I've got it and I pull it out, but I leave the door open because I have no hands. And then I'm screwing around and then, sure enough, smash.
I know, it's just.
And if you've got hair, you can hide it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I thought I could have the cool little hat, and then I went. I don't know where my cool little hat is.
Do you ever dream that you have hair?
No.
I dream sometimes that I have hair. I guess it's too long gone for you, eh?
You know, I had a ponytail. You know, went down to below my, just 6 inches down or so. But that was in the 70s, and then in the 80s when I was doing Switchback, it started to kind of, went up a little bit, and then it just slowly ate its way back. So.
Well, now speaking of the 70s, I mean everybody should know what you're about. But give us the Coles Notes Laurie Mustard story, and who plays Laurie Mustard in the movie? Brad Pitt.
No. I wish Robert Duvall was younger. Right? I love Robert Duvall. I just love his stuff.
Have you seen him? Have you seen The Apostle?
No.
The Apostle is great, and you know the storyline. He plays
I don't actually.
He plays a fire and brimstone minister. I won't give the movie away, but he plays this kind of fire and brimstone minister whose life changes because of something he does. I'll put it that way. But I loved it because it was Robert Duvall. But also, I grew up in that hardcore, evangelical, charismatic, bonkers Christian church, and I liked that it was very much on point. Like it was very much. I don't know. Do you ever watch something that's an area that you know about, like a movie that's representing that, and you go, well, this person would never say that, or this was a little, you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
But the Apostle is one of those movies where they really get it right.
Oh.
Anyway, you should see it because it's good.
Yes, I should. Robert Duvall is so, even though he said some unkind things about Canada, I forget.
When was that? Recently?
Many years ago, maybe 20. He was in Calgary. He was doing a movie in Canada or something.
Yeah.
And he said something that wasn't very kind about Canada. And I kind of thought, well, that wasn't very nice. But,
Does it count if your only experience of Canada is Calgary?
Well, yeah, that's right. Who was I?
You were going to tell us the Coles Notes Laurie Mustard story.
I am.
For people that don't know.
Well, I grew up 9 years in Killarney.
Yeah.
And I started imitating Elvis when I was, when he came out. When my sister came to the city, my older sister, on a trip once, she said, what do you want me to get? Do you want me to get you anything? I said, Elvis's 78, Hound Dog. So it had Don't Be Cruel on the other side.
Yeah.
So I played that and I played that and I played that. And Dad made me a wooden guitar and everything. And I just grew up always wanting to be an entertainer, a singer, a performer. It just was me. And so I I ended up graduating high school. I had the lead in the play, the grade 12 play sort of thing, and that got me
What play
cranked
was
up.
it?
Arms and the Man.
Oh,
I
yeah.
played Sergius Saranoff, and believe it or not, Sergius had a cigarette holder in the play,
Yeah.
and a cigarette. So I asked the teacher, who was directing the play, if I could smoke,
Yeah.
and he said sure. And so that's when I started smoking. Yeah, can you imagine these days? But that's when I started smoking.
What year was that?
That was 1967.
It's so funny because, and I told this story to somebody a while ago, but so it was like 1982 or something, and I was in grade 7, and I went to the Halloween dance at school, and my sisters who were older than me, I asked them I said, I want to be a disco guy, because it was 82, right?
Yeah.
So we got my mom's silver lame pants, and I had my mom's silver lame pants, and I had a nice silk shirt with the collar open like that. And my mom had this wig, it was like a hat. It was like a feather hat that looked like an afro. And then they blacked me up, and I went to school in blackface for this dance, and nobody said a thing. I mean, we had 1 or 2 black kids at the school, and I don't know what they thought, but it was just like, it's so crazy how the things that were like, the things that nobody, just the things that were fine before, and you think about it and you go, like,
Well,
really?
it's kind of the woke thing, but you know what? People, when they see Al Jolson back, because what I did was I sang through my teenagerhood. I loved the Jolson story and the Jolson albums.
Yeah.
And I'd play them and I'd sing along with them. And I'd sing and I'd imitate Jolson,
Yeah.
and I'd sing with Bing Crosby. And I sang and sang and sang. But Jolson was in blackface because he joined the minstrel shows because he
Yeah.
wanted to be in there. But you know what? People say, "Oh, look what he did," and they dump on him for it. The black people really appreciated Al Jolson. He was doing it it was along with the fact that it was his way to get into the shows.
Yeah.
But they realized that he was doing it as a tribute. He really, really respected black people and their music, and he identified with it. So with that kind of thing, with a Jolson, it's not like a negative thing.
But I think we're going to look at him as being an exception, right?
Yeah,
I don't think that we're going to.
Yeah, but across the board. But back then, it wasn't all just in mockery and all that stuff. It was just the way that it evolved, and then it evolved through that. So,
But also, we were so clueless about it, and the same thing with the teacher saying you could smoke. I mean, sure,
yeah. We evolved. We learned when we did it. But I mean, I want to stand up for him because I know that they had a big thing. They got together and they honored him.
Yeah.
So
well, there was, and Al Jolson was somebody who stood up for black entertainers, and
Yes, he
he
did.
was, so it is a complicated thing.
It is.
But I don't, we don't want to like go all in on supporting blackface.
No. And I'm not doing that. But I want some balance in there.
Okay.
And I've heard because Jolson is somebody I really, as a performer, I just respect his talent so much.
Yeah.
And then I've heard negative stuff about him. So I'm standing up for him because that wasn't his intent.
Yeah.
So, but yes, of course, you take it out and spread it out like a shotgun blast, and it's not all pretty. No.
So how long did you smoke for after the teacher said you
Till
could
we had a
smoke?
baby in 1975, and I was getting up to 2.5 packs a day.
Wow.
Because I loved it.
And how much were cigarettes? Like,
I don't remember how much it was then. It was starting to climb, but nothing serious.
35 cents a pack or something?
Yeah, not serious, but then of course it went insane. But yeah. So anyway, I went to university after grade 12, and it was UOW. But what I thought I was taking, like psychology and stuff like that. Well, it was the kind of thing where psychology was about training birds to peck. I wanted to learn about people.
Yeah.
And it was like teaching a pigeon how to peck a thing to make a thing fall down. And I wasn't interested. So I went half a year, dropped out. And I went. I can't remember the exact order, but I can't remember what I did there for part of the. I ended up in a band in 1970. I thought I want to sing, so I went and I sang for a year and a half in pubs and lounges around town.
Yeah.
All the regular Gordon Chain, that whole
Yeah.
thing. I had so much fun. I was the lead singer, the front man. We did that. We
What
went
was
all
the-
over
what was the band
the
called?
11th Hour,
Nice.
and it was so much fun. And then I ended up in university like before I was in the I wait a minute. I went did that, and then I went to university because theater and arts came to the UW.
Yeah.
So I did an arts degree with a theater major, and I got 13 and a half courses out of 15 because I didn't want to do the last two, which was like biology and science or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I did really well at that. And then I ended up acting at MTC and in the Dybbuk by John Hirsch.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful to
Yeah.
audition for him. I was
Yeah.
hungover and I walked on my hands and he said, "You're in." So and then I did other stuff, acted at the Warehouse with Theater Winnipeg. But then I did some odd jobs, and I was, I met my bride to be. We were together for 40 years. We split 10 years ago. But I did. There was a period in there where when we were getting together,
Yeah.
I did every kind of job you can imagine. I was a singing waiter at the Grand Canal of Venice. There was it was just a total sham. There was no water in the Grand Canal.
Where was that?
That was where Shannon's is now, right behind the Itchy Band.
Okay.
Shannon's.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've always hated rude people, and I don't put up with it. And it was an awful place. It really was. But I had so much fun in there. And a lady once, because you'd get up and you'd have to sing your number, and you'd have all these five or six tables with 7-course meals. And by the time Winnipeggers, who, maybe go out once or twice a year, they'd go and get 7-course meals. Well, they'd be full by the 4th course. And they'd say, like, "Can we take this, the veal parmesan or whatever home?" And the management in there would say, "We do not give out doggy bags."
Yeah.
So they'd say, "Can we take this home?" And I'd say, "Sure you can. You're paying for it." So I'd go back in the kitchen. I'd wrap it all up. And they'd say, "What are you doing?" I'd say, "Well, I'm going to take them their stuff so I can take it home." And they'd say, we don't do that. We don't give out doggy bags." I said, "Well, you go out there and tell them that the stuff they're going to just pay $20 for, that they can't have it. They just bought it."
Yeah.
And so they'd threaten me, and I could imitate this manager so well that when he wasn't there, all these people that he was so unkind to all these people that really needed the job, and he was a position power guy, right? And so he always used that position to be like the Lord and Master. And people were afraid to stand up to him. Well, I wasn't going to stay there forever, so I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
So when he wasn't there, I'd imitate him. It cracked the place up. And so it gave them some relief, all these people.
Yeah.
But every time I showed up for work, I'd push open those kitchen doors and I'd say, "Up your Grand Canal." And then we'd go to work, But it was an awful. Anyway, you'd have to get up and sing your number.
Yeah.
And all of the orders that these people are waiting for are getting cold.
Yeah.
So I went over to this table once and I put the stuff down. It wasn't that cold. It was, but this lady, rude lady with a bunch of people, she said, "Come here." So I went over and I said, "Yes." She said, "Could you warm up my pasta?" I said, "I think we better leave that to your husband." She goes, "Oh," and he just turned and cracked up, So that's the kind of fun I had. I said, "Of course I can." And I take it out and, but I've always been a mischief, a bit of a rascal.
Did you ever work at the Hollow Mug?
No. But I applied to be in a show there.
Yeah.
And, what was his name? He ended up being in the Dybbuk at MTC.
Yeah.
And he said, when you came and auditioned, Nenad Lotka,
Yeah.
when he saw me in the Dybbuk, he said, I didn't understand you the way you were performing.
Yeah.
Where at the Hall of Mug when you auditioned. Now I do. And if you want to come back and audition, you're hired. Because I sang and performed more like Jolson and Crosby and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the Hollow Mug, they were more like it was more choreographed.
Yeah.
And you took away your personality a lot and you acted as a singer, but you didn't have a name. You weren't, and I was being a person.
Yeah.
And so when he got it. He said, come back.
Yeah, but
I never
you
did.
never went back.
No.
My mom is 95, and she is still around. And she actually did The Boyfriend with at MTC with John Hirsch in 1950, early 50s. She was the maid. And then she did Hall of Mug for a long time.
Yeah.
And she, I remember she was good friends with Nenad, and but she was never really an actor. She was more of a singer, an entertainer, a performer. Do you know what I mean? Not really an actor.
I do know. Yeah,
and
I do
so
know what you mean.
I get because I remember seeing some of those shows when I was young. She was pregnant with me when she was doing Hello, Dolly in late 1969. Mm-hmm. So I know all the words. Right. Hello, Dolly. Well, hello, Dolly. But she did all her stuff with Ole Alto and and a bunch of other people like that. But it was.
I did beer and skits with him lots.
And actually they're tearing down. I don't go to the lake anymore, my family cottage, and they're tearing it down, the old cottage and whatever. But my sister said, there's some stuff here. Do you want it? I said, sure. So I picked it up, and I just went through the box the other day, and it was some Hollow Mug mugs.
Oh, yeah.
It was some old...
I saw your picture of them. Yeah.
But it's funny, and then it made me think of all the stuff. And it's funny how this sort of, jumps ahead. This ties into one of your loves now, is like how old things kind of... how they carry memories with them and how they have associations and how they, you just think about, I don't know, do you ever see an old thing? Because we'll talk about your love for old things, but do you ever see an old thing and just kind of wonder, I wonder where that's been, I wonder who sat in this car or what it's done, or you know what I mean? Everything's got a story, right?
I am so hooked into what you're saying because I love old cars, but I love original old cars.
Yeah.
I have a 1929 Dodge DA6 with the original interior.
Wow.
And if it's not the original, it was done 20 years later or something. But it's all and that's exactly what I do. I get in there and I go, what conversations were in here? 1929, if this is the original interior, they were talking about the stock market crash. And then they talked about Hitler coming along. And then they talked about the war. And they talked, on and on. It just, all my cars that I have, I'm not a hot rod guy because to me, it's got no history.
Right. It's a shell with a bunch of other stuff.
I'm glad they saved it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hold that mystique to me. I don't get that feeling off it. And I do, like everything that's in your room here.
Yeah.
I get who sat at the end of that bench, what conversation did they have?
Yeah.
How were they feeling? Was somebody up? Was somebody down? Were they here at a funeral? Were they, yes, I totally get that.
Yeah. For those of you listening on the radio or even watching on YouTube, but you can't see, we're in an old 1901 Ukrainian Catholic church that we're turning into the Valiant Theater. And it is full of various things right now because we do an ongoing art and vintage sale. So there's we're sitting here, as we're sitting here talking, we're looking at lots of, looking at each other is not the only old stuff we're looking at, right? We're looking at all this old stuff out here. I wanted to make that joke a little bit better. I'm gonna have to workshop that one. But No, I was dismantling a piano yesterday
I saw it.
and just made this little video because I just thought people might be interested. But as I was taking it apart, because it's funny, like I've moved over 300 pianos, and there's so many pianos still knocking around, and they're because people leave them there because they're so heavy. This piano was 650 pounds. I know that because I took it to the dump and they weighed it. But like people are moving, or the people are dying, or they're getting their floors redone, or whatever, and nobody wants the piano because it's a big giant thing. Sometimes if the soundboard is cracked, it's garbage.
I know all about this.
And so, but anyway, so I was taking it apart, and all these pianos are a bit different. Like it's amazing to me, I've moved over 300 pianos. 100 of them haven't been Heinzmann. Like there've been so many different kinds
I know.
that you'd never. The one that I took apart yesterday was William Knobe and Company.
Yeah, I saw the name.
And it was maybe I've seen one, but not more than a couple. And as I was taking it apart, the first key that I took off had written on the side a date in 1907, which I thought was interesting because whoever the craftsman was wrote down the date on it as they were putting it in. And these old pianos are, I don't really know, I should look it up sometime how they put them together, but you can actually take one of those pianos apart with a flathead screwdriver. I mean, eventually you'll hit the glue and you'll need to start smashing it apart. But I don't know, in 1907, did they have did they have electric drills?
No.
Like, how were they doing that in 1907?
Yeah.
Were they drilling those by hand and then
Probably,
screwing them in by
they'd have
hand?
some sort of, see, I paid particular attention because that's my dad's birth year. So I went,
okay.
1907, give me that. But I'll do a quick piano thing, then I'll go back to the evolution of how I got into the showbiz thing. But when I was writing for the Free Press up until 2-3 years ago, in the home section, I got talking about pianos. And don't take them to the dump. I just got going.
Yeah.
I said, because the old growth wood in those pianos, I said, some of those pianos, the wood that's in them, started growing in the 1700s, and then it grew into the 1800s, and then it got cut down, and then it was made into pianos. And I had Ed Johnner over from Windsor Plywood.
Okay.
And he said, this wood is extraordinary. You can't get this wood. And he said, on the back of a piano I've got in my garage, he said, these 4 posts, if you went to buy them, the back of this piano, would be about $1,000 if you went to buy and they go to the dump. So I said to people, don't take them apart. We've got to find some way to make an industry, a business out of taking old pianos apart and recycling the wood and recycling the other stuff and but I mean, I know, as you know from, it
takes forever to take a piano apart.
I was thinking about a Sawzall. I really was. I was thinking that, because you eat up this much at the end of each part of the wood.
Yeah.
So what? But
it's fine to take those backs off, but I mean, if you were really trying to take the whole thing apart, and this was the thing I said in the video, each of the 88 tuning pegs has to come out.
I saw it.
In order to get the cast iron harp out away from the soundboard. Like it's so time consuming. This is sort of funny. It's not the same thing, but during COVID, when 2x4s were like $12 for an 8-foot 2x4, you remember that?
Yeah.
If you tried to build anything during the pandemic, you remember that. And there were actually guys that were taking apart, they were going and picking up pallets and they were taking them apart, and on Marketplace, they were selling 4-foot pieces of 2x4. Which I thought was so industrious and ingenious and whatever. And I haven't noticed it since because the price went back down, and I guess it doesn't make any sense. But I am also, I ran a used bookstore, owned a used bookstore for a long time. So I have gone into lots of places and, looked at stuff and seen, to see what I can save and whatever. And I said something somebody the other day said, "Where does all this stuff come from?" And I said, "Winnipeg is full of two things: old people and their stuff." And I mean, you've been in people's
I know.
places, and and sometimes it's sad because sometimes you go somewhere and everything's wrecked. You go into a basement and it's just everything is wet or damp and it stinks, and you just are like nothing. You know what I mean? This stuff
I
can't be
do,
saved.
yeah.
It's wrecked, and it's sad because sometimes people save stuff just because they're lazy, but sometimes they think that it's going to be worth something. People, there's a fine line between guys like you and me and then hoarding.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's true. I know a true hoarder, and she wants me to help her. And her house is stacked right to the ceiling,
Yeah.
both floors.
Yeah.
But it's not garbage. She's
Yeah.
got it all.
Yeah.
It's not like the typical hoarder you see on TV. But I know that she wants to do it. I doubt that if we got into it that she'd let it happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, the old growth wood. I've got pianos in my garage. I've got pianos in my shed. I've got a 42 by 60 shed.
Yeah.
So I got to move this weekend 3 pianos out of my garage back to my shed, which is easy because I roll them across the floor and I winch them up onto my trailer and I back out and then I winch them back down, roll them across the plywood. I'm going to get them out of my garage. I can't work in my garage. And
is this why you and your wife split up? Too many pianos?
no. It just ran its course. I did all the pianos afterwards when I did the column. But anyway, so to go back to the other, I did things like Grand Canal of Venice, and I washed dishes at the Beacon Hill Lodge. This is after acting at MTC and stuff. And I worked as a stagehand for a while. That was fun.
Okay.
Because my neighbor was Chuck Porter, who ran a lot of the stuff for that.
Okay.
So I did that. Anyway,
speaking of restaurants, was Rancho Don Carlos still around, or
it
was
was
that before
but-
your time?
No, it was still around, but I didn't
Yeah.
go to it. It was out in North
Yeah.
Maine. So yeah. But anyway, so we met. My wife and I got together, got married, and I was doing these different jobs, and finally I went, I got to get a real job here. So my mom had always bugged me about radio. So we lived on Clifton Street, south of Portage. The house was haunted. I made a tape up of Peter Warren. I could do his voice really well, and I had a cassette thing. And I made up of all his callers all phoning in and him ultimately going crazy on the air. And I couldn't stop it, so I had to change the voices.
Yeah.
Warren caller, Warren caller, Warren caller. So I went to the closest radio station to my house, OB.
Yeah.
I took my tape in. They loved it so much, and Warren totally freaked out. He loved it. I got hired like that. But there was nothing open on the air. So I had to wait till, like, back in those days, that's when you could work a career for your life.
Yeah.
So, but
now, when are we talking here? Mid
it
70s?
was 1977.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So you were pushing 30,
I was
and you'd
20,
been mucking around.
48, 58, 68. Okay.
29. You'd been mucking around as a
Yeah, I
doing
was
things. You had to be a
77. Was I? Yeah, 77.
29.
Yeah, I was 29 there when I joined. Yeah, when I got there. So I'd mucked around, done a whole bunch of things. Yeah. And then John Cochran, who ran the place, wanted me on the air so bad, but there was, everything was full. I mean, and everybody had a morning show or an afternoon show. They'd been there forever. They were going to be. So he says, look, I worked in advertising for a while because at least I got a job. I says, nice to be hired, but I'd like to be paid. And he says, well, we got an opening at, advertising. Would you want to do that? I said, yeah, I write, sure. I wrote in university. So I was in there for a year. And then that's when they put me on CHMM Country, and I learned how to broadcast in there. So I worked 7 days a week for about a year. And then he said, I'm going to put you in traffic. He said, because you're in the morning show and afternoon drive, with Red Alex and Alan Willoughby, and he said, do your stuff in there.
Yeah.
He said, please just include some traffic. And he said, and please feel welcome to be the station's token shit disturber. So I did everything.
Yeah.
I did voices, I did everything. I got along great with Red. Alan didn't want to do anything with me. He did not want me in entertaining on his show. So
was he too straight?
He was very, very focused on what he did. He prepared in advance to where he didn't have room in his head to ad lib.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So but then I went on just the morning traffic thing, and then I just got 1980. I just went on as co-host of the morning show with Red Alex, and I did that till 1991. But we had an absolute ball. So all through the 80s, I did, first of all, the big guy commercials, the television commercials, 33 in 2.5 years or something. They were fabulous. I got hired by CBC to do television shows during that period. So I was doing I was emceeing over 200 and some things a year.
Wow.
The 80s for me were just nonstop. It was wonderful. And I've always loved to perform, period.
Yeah.
So I'd do the morning show, and then I'd go out and we'd film something for Switchback, the second television show I did. And I did, what was that? It doesn't matter. It turned into, the show I did before that turned into Breakaway that Jim Ingebrigtsen and Sandy Coleman did. And so I did Switchback for 5.5 years. And then I got to 1991, and a guy came in and changed everything at CJOB. And I didn't want the job they offered me, so I went to Palmer Jarvis Advertising. Was there for 6 months, got hired at The Sun for 20 years by Paul Robson. And he said, I said, does it, he was publisher.
Yeah.
And I said, does it matter that I can type, but I can't type? You want me to write?
Yeah.
He said, lots of writers use 2 fingers. He said, we're hiring our first morning man for the newspaper. So that I was there for 20 years. And now I'm semi-retired, and I speak and I do stuff like that. But I'm going to get back to the speaking and stuff, because in 2022, I had heart failure.
Okay.
And then I ended up in a horrible depression that was partly because of that happens sometimes with guys after they go through heart stuff.
Yeah.
And there's been depression in my family, period. So I kind of did my whole career with depression cooking underneath, but it never showed on the surface, So, yeah.
Do you think, I feel like when you keep busy, and you said you were so busy in the 80s, I think when you're just busy all the time, it's very easy to kind of keep that stuff away from you, because you're just going. Like what month is it? October. So right around now, 14 years ago, I announced that I was closing my business, my bookstore, and my restaurant, and our theater, and then my marriage was cratering at the same time, and I sort of limped along for a while after that. Tried to do some other things, and eventually I just had a full-on nervous breakdown and tried to kill myself, and ended up in the psych ward. And I don't think it was that it just, like you say, it was there waiting, but I just I was just busy. I was busy, and part of that being busy and working is self-medicating, right? Part of that is just pushing that stuff off. But you can't really, I don't know, you can't run from it forever. I mean, eventually, if it's there, it's gonna pop its head up.
Well, as a kid, a teenager, I didn't know that what I was feeling was depression.
Yeah.
I just thought everybody was like that.
Yeah.
and they didn't
Well, you have no frame of reference, and nobody
no.
talked about it.
And they didn't have meds for it back then. And I saw a member of the family who did have depression, serious depression. I was nowhere near like that.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of really down times then, but they didn't last, and I was able to just go on and be pretty much normal all the time, except later on, like
Except you're Laurie Mustard and you're not normal.
that's right. No, that's true. That's true. I'm not normal, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
Because it gave me a career. Like what I got help for in high school, I got paid really well for in my career. So, but then the depression thing, it had come and go a little bit, but never overwhelming. But when I had the heart thing, I'll tell you just quickly here, I had the heart thing, and then I dropped way down because I was on a medication after the heart thing that reacted with me horribly, and one of my nieces, saying that drug did the same thing to her. And then I dropped like a stone, and I what's the word, suicidal ideation.
Yeah.
I got into that. And so I wanted to go into the psych ward because I wanted shock treatments. So I got myself put in, and I was
No, this is 3 years ago?
this is, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
something like that.
okay.
And I went into the Victoria for a month, and I had 2 shock treatments a week because it had worked with my mom
Yeah.
in the 50s. And it worked with me, sort of. And I stayed 4 weeks, and I absolutely hated it. And so I just got myself out of there.
Yeah.
And I came home, and a week later, the shock treatments worked for, sort of. And then I dropped further down than I was before I went in.
Yeah.
And I was like 3 months of just no TV, no computer, not really in contact with my family. Was wonderful, but I was living at home alone with the animals.
Yeah.
And I just basically sat on the couch, and I took my meds till the meds that my guy gave me until they worked, and then I just healed. But that was so horrible. But being in the hospital, in the psych ward, I was in the room with a guy that was, he was I don't know, he was a dark, bad person to be in a room with, So I just wanted out of there. I got out of there. That didn't work.
I was in the Vic for 23 days, and that was before you. But it's a bit like our mental health system is so underfunded, and it's so prevalent. It's a thing that so many people struggle with, and Bell Let's Talk notwithstanding, the worst company in the world is going to help us talk about our negative sad feelings, but we still don't talk about it enough. We don't talk about it like it's a normal thing.
That's true. It is a normal thing.
And because it's for a lot of people, it's shameful. It feels shameful, and I was really depressed for a year and a half when I was 19. And I remember talking to my mom about it.
It was when I was 20, 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember talking to my mom about it many years later, and I said, I was really depressed when I was 19. She said, oh yeah, I knew. I just didn't know what to do about it. And I was mad. I was like she knew, and she didn't know what to do about it. Well, how come she didn't talk to somebody? You know what I mean? But it was just kind of like, it was just, it was still in that time, and she's older and from that generation where you kind of just don't talk about it. You know what I mean? You just kind of, my parents had tragedy early on in their marriage, and they just never, ever talked about it. And that's because that's what she did. And it's so unhealthy. And some people, I think, can function a little bit better. And then other people, some of us, it's just.
Well, it doesn't hit everybody the same. It's like lots of diseases. But the one thing about it that is so tough about depression is that if you have, so I've got a half knee in here. I had to have a half knee replaced because of a baseball game for switchback that I slid into base and screwed up my knee. So I said,
were you safe at least?
I was safe. Yeah. But anyway, the bottom line is I can cope with that sore knee because my coping mechanism, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I got a sore knee. But when you've got depression, this is your coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And that's what's sick.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part about depression is you need that coping mechanism to pull yourself through it. And it's dysfunctional at the time. So it's harder work.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when you got to get help.
Yeah. And you can't, and I mean, you need to, when you're not well mentally or emotionally, you need to make some different decisions. But like you say, this is your thinker. This is the thing that does the stuff. But this is, I mean, I've said that myself lots. This is the thing that's not working. So, you know, you can't, because I mean, even, you know, if you, I don't know, if you're in pain, if you're in pain, I mean, you can mind over matter. You can talk yourself into it.
You can compartmentalize
whatever. But if the brain is not working, no, my partner and I both live with ongoing mental illness stuff, and it is so hard. And I mean, the only thing you can do is keep talking about it. You know, make sure that you're talking to other people, because, like you said, when you you know, when you were sitting around on your couch, and you know, you said your family was good, but I mean, it's very easy for people to get isolated. You know, COVID was very bad for that. Yeah. Because some people that were already isolated got more isolated. And you know, I mean, for whatever people say about social media and how it's bad and whatever, I mean, it is a way where a very isolated person can still remain connected, you know, with people who are, because I mean, it's I think we're less and less in our world. I think we're less and less sitting in the same space like this. You know, I think there's a lot more isolation, and I think even with theater, like after COVID, you know, all those places like MTC and the West End Cultural Center and whatever, their audiences didn't come back at 100%. Right. You know, because people, for 2 years, people changed their habits, and they became very accustomed to not going out. You know, people bought their 65-inch TVs. Yeah. And you know, there is something about, and this is one of those things to come back full circle to those pianos. One thing I think about sometimes with those pianos is, because my mom, you know, we would do this at the lake. We had this this old piano that somebody painted green, this ancient piano that was not, I don't know when it was tuned, but not very often. But we would, you know, my mom would open up the seat and she'd pull out the old music and she'd play something and people would sing along. And, you know, when people are, when somebody is, you know, playing a piano, an instrument like that, or a guitar or whatever, and people are singing, there's something that happens in your brain. You know, there's different things that fire in your brains. And, you know, I mean, there's a whole,
it can be helpful. It can. Yeah.
And there's a whole generation of people that are growing up and that have grown up just with a different idea about togetherness. You know, I have a helper with my moving stuff who he's in his 30s, and most of his friends, I think, are all over the world. They're in the States and whatever, because he's playing like World of Warcraft or whatever, and he's got his headphones on and he's talking to them and whatever, and that's great. But I mean, they're not, you know, he's sitting in his room by himself, you know, and, you know, and he's an introvert and whatever, but it is, the world has changed so much, and there's a lot of things about technology that I think are great. There's a lot of things that I like, but there's a lot of things that are like AI to me is horrifying, the way that, you know, they've scraped everybody's art and everybody's writing and all this stuff. And then people post stuff all the time on Facebook, and I'm always telling them, this is AI garbage. You know, it's AI pictures, and AI's written the article. People that, you know, people that are not dumb, people that should know better. But, you know, it looks like something real. And so we don't even know it's real anymore, which is scary. I mean, you know, and there's these AIs you can talk to. I mean, I know someone who said she talks to AI for therapy, which is you know, very like dystopian and, you know, like a bad sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
So you still like getting in there and seeing people and going over to hoarders' houses and seeing what they've got
Oh,
over there. And
I'm so interested in all of that kind of stuff because it like all of this speaks to me. And there's a church. I don't know. It got turned into it's over. Oh, where is it? I got a picture where it is now. It's over off of. Oh, I don't know, a few blocks off, a couple of blocks off Portage and toward Wall Street in there. But they turned it into a kids daycare and stuff like that.
Okay.
And the church was upstairs and it got basically abandoned.
yeah,
And at the end of the church, we've got all our windows here with
Yeah.
what are
Stained
they?
glass.
Stained glass
Yeah.
windows. Well, the three windows at the head of the church were some of the first done by his name just went out of my head. There's a park in Assiniboine Park for him.
Leo Mole.
Leo Mole.
Yeah.
It was three beautiful stained glass windows, some of
Really?
his first work.
Huh.
And they said, take them, just replace them with other windows and whatever you want. So I still wonder if they're still there because they're there for the taking. And I tried to get them through this Assiniboine Park Conservatory.
Yeah.
I talked to those guys because they have the Leo Mall Garden
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And they said, well, actually, we got some in storage. We don't need them. And I thought, how can you not need a Leo Mall thing that you put away? You just put away.
Do you know Christian Cassidy? You must know Christian Cassidy. He writes a history column for the Free Press, and he works for Trees Winnipeg, but he's a historian, and he's always pulling stuff out of archives. He has done a walking tour that he does sometimes of this area right around the church here, and it's amazing to me because he'll go to, and I don't really know if I suppose probably lots of it is digitized now. I don't know if he physically goes to archives, but it's amazing to me that he will pull out a piece of information and I'll think about it and I'll go, there is nobody alive that remembers this bit of information. You know what I mean? He pulled this out that, you know, there was a manhunt for two Chinese men in 1920 over here who had, you know, supposedly killed somebody. This whole thing, which, you know what I mean? I'm sure that nobody anywhere, I'm sure there's no person that remembers that or that knows that. And he pulls it out and then all of a sudden it's back out there again. And that's what's so interesting to me about history is all those things that are just kind of hiding there.
Yeah.
You know, and there's lots of people that, well, you know, lots of people there, it's the Donald Trump approach, right? You know, you just knock down don't like the White House, we'll knock it down, we'll put up a Canadians or whatever he's going to do over there.
Yeah.
You brought something, didn't you? You
Yes,
had a little
just something
thing
in case.
with you.
Well, it was because I wanted to be prepared in case you got on my nerves and asked me the wrong thing. So what I brought was,
It's cyanide.
yeah,
And I just want to know, is it full?
yeah,
Oh, that is wonderful. And that's got a great label on it there.
it does.
It looks good.
It's deadly poison cyanide.
Nice.
Yeah, and what this is, I mean, it's real. And a lot of people won't touch this can. They go, when they touch it, they go, it's you know, like I could
That's
get.
funny.
And what it is a relative in the family was a jeweler.
Yeah.
And this is for cleaning jewelry. So I ended up emptying the house, you know, a lot of the stuff, the jewelry stuff. So this is jeweler's cyanide, but obviously jeweler's genuine.
Yeah.
And so that's what they cleaned with, imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd still kill you real dead.
Yeah.
So I keep it at home, and it's a conversation piece.
Well, I'm happy to touch it. I probably won't lick my fingers
yeah,
before washing my hands, but
it's never been opened since I've had it. It probably hasn't been opened in 30 years.
we've got 7 more minutes, but I want to ask you 2 more things.
Sure.
You had a little series that you were doing, and now it's dropped out of my head. Mustard on everything. Was that what it was?
Yes.
Did that?
I wrote that in Mustard on Everything was in the Free Press,
Yeah.
and I did it for like
But a video.
7 or 8 years. I did mustard on everything on,
Shaw or something, or
yeah,
Bell, or
Bell, yeah. And I did, we just did 4 shows.
okay.
Cam Patterson and I
Yeah.
did it. And he's a wonderful guy,
So
wonderful.
so there was never, you were just going to do 4. There
We
was
did
no.
4, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I want to go back and do TV again.
Yeah.
I want to go back. I don't know whether I want to do, well, radio like this. You know what? Whenever I did radio alone, I hated it because
Yeah.
I was bored.
Yeah.
But I need
'Cause you're
somebody to
boring.
talk to. Because yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. You know, everybody's got.
It is different when
Everybody's got something.
It is different when you're sitting talking to somebody, for sure.
You know what? It's when you're sitting talking to somebody, it's a conversation. You go back and forth and you joke and stuff like that. But when I'm on radio alone,
Yeah.
unless you go and research the hell out of stuff, and so you've got all this stuff prepared,
Yeah.
I like the ad lib style
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's why I love live TV.
Yeah.
Because the switchback was live.
Yeah.
They never knew what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Nobody gets between you and the audience. And that terrified the people in the production room. But
And it is interesting because being able to be quick on your feet and being able to do stuff live is its own skill set that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
You know, and I know a couple of I know someone who's a local comic, and I won't say who they are, but I feel like they are not a great joke writer, but when they're live and they're hosting something,
yeah,
they're really good, because that's, you know what I mean, just listening to what's happening and doing that.
Yeah,
That's you know, but that's its own skill set. So 5 minutes, and I do want to ask you one more thing. So one of the reasons why I'm doing this is I want to talk to people who are trying to take their little corner of the world and trying to make it better, right? I feel like that's what we need to do. I feel like there's enough. I feel like there's so many things wrong with the world that it's easy to get overwhelmed by that. So what do? You take your piece and you do what you can, right? And so I know that something that you're very passionate about is animals and animal welfare. And I actually just this morning was talking to the new director of Humane Society, Chris von Schindler, and she's going to come on, and she's actually, you know, that thing they did this summer at the they went and did some Altona or Grunthal or Steinbach summer fair, and they showed up with the Humane Society, and they showed up with their pig enclosure. Did you hear about that?
No.
So, and the people were very mad. The organizers were very mad. But you know, Chris, I mean, they're taking Humane Society in sort of this, you know, direction, which is very much, because I mean, the Humane Society is about animal welfare.
They were doing that a few years ago.
It's not
too.
just a.
Yeah,
it's not
with
just
pigs.
it's not just a rescue.
Yeah.
And you know, they're talking about that. Overall, I know that's something you're passionate about.
It kills me the degree to which human beings have selective empathy, and they'll pat their dog and love their cat, and then pigs, who are the 4th smartest mammal on the earth, and I'll just do it this way, just about any non-human that's on the planet, like a spider or whatever, it may be going a little bit far. But if you connect with them, with the energy, the attention, and take away their fear and develop trust, and I'm talking about the skunk in your yard, the wolf, the deer, whatever, the raccoons, they get it. And as soon as the trust happens, you have a family member.
Yeah.
And we decide with pigs that we don't want to see that they're smart and affectionate and they're loving and they're incredible animals. So we just shut it off, because as people say, oh, I couldn't do that. I love my bacon. And I go, it's not your bacon. It's the pig's body. And then calves are taken away from, the male calves are taken away from their mothers and raised till they're a few months old and then slaughtered for veal, you know, and that kind of thing. And male chickens that can't, you know, aren't going to be able to pump out eggs.
Yeah.
They are ground up live. They go down whatever it is, belt, and they go and here they are, a perfectly healthy little beautiful chicken, and then they plop up and they're ground up live. That's what they do with millions, billions of chickens, and I find that is that's as heinous as you can get with not understanding, respecting, and trying to relate to the other family members on this earth. We aren't it. Humans aren't it. It's an earth family.
Yeah.
And we, because of who we think we are, we have this entitlement that we think we can just impose on everybody. I'm going to delineate that you are good for this and nothing else. I'm not going to pay any attention. I'm just going to kill you and eat you. I'm going to cut your throat. I'm going to do this. I don't care your pain. Lobsters. Like, honestly.
I didn't know we were going to get so gross and upsetting in the last 2 minutes.
It infuriates me. It's no different to me than a person, like, in a way, it's like slavery was. They didn't acknowledge the people who were the slave owners, didn't acknowledge everything that those people, who they were, what they were capable of. And that's what we're doing with animals. It's just another, the people on earth have to catch up and smarten up with what this is really all about, and not just decide like a Donald Trump that he can do anything he wants with whatever he wants and have no feelings about it. So.
Well, that is such a bummer to end on, but we're out of time. Maybe will you come back sometime and we'll talk about that whole thing? Because I think that's a whole thing that needs its own time. Will you come back?
Yes. And the other thing is, I've got a million funny stories through my career that are phenomenally fun to talk about.
Okay.
And I would love to talk about the animal part of it. Yes, I would. Good. This has been fabulous. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
And thanks to all of you for stopping by. We appreciate it. And like we say at the end here, art will save us all.
Yes, save us all.
Thank you.